Ghost of Tsushima is the open world epic set in feudal Japan that I've waited a decade for. With varied, exciting combat that'll make you feel like you were born with a katana in one hand, and lush visuals which made me stop and admire the scenery hourly, it's a fantastic experience. Though not without its drawbacks, Ghost of Tsushima is a fitting end to the PlayStation 4's unparalleled run of exclusives, and in many ways feels like a fitting tribute to the concluding generation as a whole. Ghost of Tsushima sees you playing as Jin Sakai, an orphan samurai and leader-in-waiting to the throne of Clan Shimura. The game begins with a battle against Mongolian invaders led by Khotan Khan, an absolutely raging lad typecastingly played by Attila the Hun from Night at the Museum. Things go pretty much as badly as possible for Jin and the rest of the army, as most of them are slaughtered. Jin, thought to be dead, must then rally his allies and rescue his uncle from the Khan, who's taken over the island of Tsushima. You know how since Assassin's Creed 2 everyone's been asking why don't Ubisoft just make one set in Japan? Well, apparently Sucker Punch seems to have gotten tired of waiting. Gameplay primarily flows through the combat, which is largely swordplay reminiscent of Jedi Fallen Order. Attacks from enemies can be blocked, parried or dodged, and certain enemies are more susceptible to certain stances that Jin can perform. While the stance system is interesting, I didn't find any of the enemies substantially difficult enough to warrant changing stances rapidly. If anything, the only thing I had trouble with in combat was the chorus of archers that had no hesitation in turning your back into a dartboard. It has a bit of the Batman Arkham games about it, wherein the combat encounters are kept as fresh as you'd like. It's really down to your approach. You can stealthily sneak through a camp taking down enemies one by one, or you can approach a camp bold as brass and challenge the inhabitants to a square go. These are just as fun the first time as they are the 100th, especially when you gain the ability to take down a whole camp's worth of enemies in a single standoff. Oh, and by the way, for the next generation, can we have a moratorium on killing dogs? Between this and The Last of Us Part 2, the average lifespan of a dog on the PlayStation 4 is about 12 seconds. The mission design in many ways is a greatest hits of modern open world games. There are camps to clear, the map is littered with side missions, and there's a huge amount of gear upgrades and visual customization. A few unique additions such as composing haiku keep things fresh, but even the more generic side activities are enjoyable. I was reminded of Assassin's Creed's recent foray into RPGs with Odyssey and Origins more than once, but never more so than when I opened the map, zoomed out again, and then again. The landmass is huge and extremely varied in terrain. The game does a great job of refreshing the visual palette of an area every few minutes or so long horse rides never feel boring on the eye. The game uses wind as an objective marker, which at first I thought was really cool. It's both a novel way of approaching UI and a great way to add life to a scene. However, when trying to find something small in a camp or a town for example, it lacks the specificity and became slightly annoying. The main campaign missions are fine, but they typically just facilitate unlocking new parts of the map or new equipment. There are a few larger set pieces that are genuinely impressive, however I found myself having much more fun riding around the map, checking off side activities. This is a stupid issue admittedly, but you can actually go to mission areas before the missions themselves have triggered, so enemies will either just not be there or not react to you, as if you've gone to see a play 10 hours early and they're all just sitting there rehearsing. I think I enjoyed Act 2 and 3's missions more because having done so many of the side activities and the more involved mythic tales, I was extremely overleveled and the power fantasy was what I was after. Speaking of mythic tales, I'd highly recommend completing as many of them as you can before the end of the game, as they grant access to some of the game's more aesthetically pleasing forms of murder. Narratively, I found the game somewhat thin. While the performances are all strong and the dialogue is well written, there's little in the story beats that isn't extremely telegraphed. That is not to say that it was a bad story, just that it isn't going to be something that I think about for years to come. It could be argued that the game's simple morality tale is supposed to evoke the golden age of samurai cinema that the game pays so much respect to, but stretched across a 40-hour game, it leaves something to be desired. I mentioned that the game is a bit of a tribute to this generation, and well, just like most of this generation's big games, it's extremely long. I rolled credits after around 40 to 50 hours, however you could probably focus on the main quest in closer to 20, that would be doing the game and the island a massive disservice. The game is stunning, there's no other way to put it. The environment art is some of the best I've ever seen in a video game, and the cinematography is a love letter to the samurai films that the game so lovingly evokes. Great care and attention is paid to colour, giving the game one of the most vibrant palettes on PS4. There's actually a menu setting to increase the contrast and I highly recommend it, it gave everything such a prominence. Every frame of the painting is such a tired cliche, but I have never used a photo mode more than in Ghost of Tsushima. The game also includes a Kurosawa mode, named after the great Japanese auteur, which gives the game a black and white filter and film grain effects. I didn't love how this looked, but I really enjoyed how it distorted the sound effects and dialogue to retain that hidden fortress aesthetic. You can also set all the dialogue to Japanese should you wish your experience to be as film schooly as humanly possible. I really enjoyed my time with Ghost of Tsushima. I've not gotten the completionist bug from an open world game in a long time, but for some reason, Tsushima had me up to ridiculous times in the morning chasing voxes and composing haiku. Sucker Punch's last franchise, Infamous, had that same effect on me, so it's good to see they've retained their brand of open world busywork that appeals to my brain. I deem a combat system to be fun if I wish there was an endless arena mode in which I could stand and enemies would just stream towards me for hours. If Ghost of Tsushima had such mode, I would never have finished the review on time. It's visually stunning, continually engaging, and a fantastic send-off for the generation. Thanks for watching this review of Ghost of Tsushima. If you enjoyed it, be sure to check out another one of our reviews and subscribe to BBC The Social Gaming. Until next time, I'm Jordan Midler. See you later.